Hello, and welcome to YouTube number 45A in this series exposing the Jesuit Vatican shadow empire and their never-ending campaign of terrorism against the people and nations of the world. Terrorism is just another word for Inquisition. Remember that word, Inquisition. The world has been experiencing Inquisition for at least 1,000 years. And it is this force, this thinking, this idea of Inquisition that lies behind all the violence and the atrocities that are being committed against people worldwide. Before I start, I'd like to point out that the content in this video is linked to video number 21. So I would advise listening to both of them in tandem as they complement each other. People, the world has been in an almost continual state of violent agitation and war for 6,000 years, with short periods of calm in between. Have you never asked yourself why that is? Why the constant fighting and oppression? Could it be that there are unseen forces working tirelessly to destroy peace and goodwill between men because these forces hate peace and love violence? The truth is, most people hate fighting and violence but are continually forced into it by dominant powers. After the decline of the last great world empire, Rome, in 476 AD, it appeared to fade away, but in fact resurrected itself as a religio-political monster that gradually grew in power through covert machinations over the next 600 years and morphed into what is here today now, the ruler of all the kingdoms of the earth. Mystery Babylon religion. Is this the force provoking nations to war with each other? If so, how did this occur? The answer is simple. By the use of sophistry, deception, intrigue, infiltration, and force. By a select group of people who hold to certain ideals. And those ideals are Luciferian. And the end goal is world conquest. Let's take a look at the history of Inquisition in simple terms and analyze what it is, how it operates, and most importantly, who is running it today? Who's doing this? E. Howard Hunt, propaganda chief of the CIA, confessed openly to the power of the Jesuits today. Why? Simply because the Jesuits run the Roman Catholic office of the Inquisition. Yes, this office exists today and has never been expunged. Only the name has been changed to hide its existence and purpose. Today it is deceitfully titled the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith. The Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith. Now that would deceive anybody. Nobody would understand what this term meant. Who could know that its true function is to kill all non-Catholics who are falsely called heretics? Here's a powerful warning against the Jesuits by Thomas E. Watson in his book, The Roman Catholic Hierarchy, from 1915. He says, and I quote, "Today the Roman priest is the most insolent and arrogant man in America. The laws will not touch him. The politicians do his bidding. The press is afraid of him. His powerful hand controls Congress and the president. The priests have established the Inquisition here. They are in secret league with the head chiefs of both the old political parties. They have shackled the press, and the cowardly politicians are in deadly fear of them. They have promised their Papa, the Pope, that the United States shall be his within the next few years, but the Papa would burn heretics right now if he could. The Roman Catholic hierarchy, the most damnable group of interlocking secret societies that ever met in darkness and took hellish oaths in a compact of greed and lust and crime for the sordid purpose of grasping uncontrollable power, boundless wealth, and a never-ceasing supply of the most enjoyable women. These secret societies, the Society of Jesus, the Knights of Malta, the Knights of Columbus, Shriner Freemasonry, etc., which constitute the real machinery of the Roman Catholic Church, have the same sort of religion that Satan would have, were he to take human shape on earth. Unquote. The critical question here is, if the Jesuits had that much power in 1915, then how much do they have today? Most people don't want to know the honest answer. But I'm going to provoke you with that answer. How much do they have today? If they had that much power in 1915, more than 100 years ago, we can only imagine. So what is the Inquisition? Inquisition is a pagan practice of exterminating difference. In other words, if you don't agree with them, they will exterminate you. Who gave anybody the right in this world to exterminate someone else because they had a different idea or they had a different way of worshiping God? Who? Who? Only the Roman Catholic Church, along with its sister church, Islam. These two ideologies exterminate all difference, all those who will not comply to their demands. And this is criminal behavior. Call it what you like. It is criminal, wicked behavior. The word heretics derives from the Greek heresis, proposing choice. When the Roman Catholic Church replaced the Caesarian Roman Empire as the dominant force in Europe, one selection of spiritual sentiment and practice deemed unorthodox by the Roman Catholic Church would be scrutinized with the utmost of zeal. The notion of heresy being both a church and state offense or political offense has long-standing pagan roots. The great Roman Empire, as a standard, thought heresy to be treason. Death was often the penalty, as Christian martyrs well knew. The word Inquisition, in fact, comes from the Roman Empire, and Inquisitio was held into the speculation of a heretic, in judging whether a person was deemed to be a heretic or non-compliant with the system, and which was considered to be treason. Where is freedom in this, people? Where is the freedom of choice? There is none. And that is what I'm pointing out. Today we have decreasing freedom to choose in every sector. Look around you. If you don't see it, then you're not paying attention. The notion of heresy being both a church, once the Roman Catholic Church started to take form and replace the greater Roman Empire, a law was established with the law code of Justinian. And this came in around 550 AD. This was sourced from angelfire.com, where you can find this document, and you could probably find it in other books and other publications. And this law read as follows, and I quote, "The code of our Lord, the most sacred Emperor Justinian, 2nd edition, Book 1, Title 1, concerning the most exalted Trinity and the Catholic faith, and providing that no one shall dare to publicly oppose them." Number 1, the emperors Gratian, Valentinian, and Theodosius, to the people of the city of Constantinople. We desire that all people subject to our benign empire shall live under the same religion that the divine Peter, the apostle, gave to the Romans, which is a lie. He never did. Already here we see in 550 AD the lie being perpetrated that Peter went to Rome and gave this religion to the Romans. It's an absolute lie. It's not found in the Bible anywhere. He gave it to the Romans, and which the said religion declares was introduced by himself, and which it is well known that the Pontiff Damascus and Peter, Bishop of Alexandria, a man of apostolic sanctity, embraced. That is to say, in accordance with the rules of apostolic discipline and the evangelical doctrine, we should believe that the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit constitute a single deity endowed with equal majesty and united in the Holy Trinity. Now, in the second section here, we read, we order all those who follow this law to assume the name of Catholic Christians. Catholic. There you're using the word Catholic in 550 AD. And considering others as demented and insane. In other words, all who disagree, or who do not join this mindset, they are to be considered demented and insane. We order that they shall bear the infamy of heresy, and when the divine vengeance which they merit has been appeased, they shall afterwards be punished in accordance with our resentment, which we have acquired from the judgment of heaven. Really? Where does it say that God gave anybody the right in the Bible to proclaim people heretics and then persecute and kill them? This is demonic, satanic. And this is dated at Thessalonica on the 3rd of the calends of March during the consulate of Gratian, consul for the 5th time, and Theodosius. And I will put a link in the box where you can find this document and read it for yourself. And this is called the Civil Law, the Code of Justinian. So it is clear that the Inquisition is a program of force and terror invented by the Roman Catholic cult to falsely condemn and kill all those who commit treason by refusing to obey the religion and the canon law of the Roman temple cult. Any method of killing is permissible to agents of the pagan Roman Catholic temple cult. This is really important to understand, otherwise what is happening in the world will not make any sense. Okay, here's a little history about pagans Rome's long slow climb back to world power. From 476 AD, with the breakup of the old Roman Empire, until 768 AD and the crowning of the Frankish king Charlemagne, the by now apostate church had no military arm by which to enforce its edicts or protect itself. After almost 450 years, and in total spiritual darkness between 32 AD and 476 AD, this monstrous syncretic amalgam of Christian symbology and heretical pagan Babylonian religious practices was seeking power and wealth, but was without the means of obtaining them. A military force. A military force. Where in the Bible does God give permission to the Christian church, his people, to develop a military force for the sake of obtaining worldly power? This is not found anywhere in the Bible. Nowhere. So immediately we can see that the Roman Catholic institution is not of God. It's not biblical. It's not godly. It is a worldly, satanic force, ideology, bent on world domination and control, using God as the reason for their modus operandi. They're doing it for God. They're going to kill and persecute and subdue the world for God. Where is this found in the Bible, people? Nowhere. I challenge you to look for it. You will not find it. Crowning Charlemagne, or the Holy Roman Emperor, on December 25th of December. This is the significance of the 25th of December, or the pagan Saturnalia. In 800 AD, Pope Leo III obtained for the Roman Catholic cult for the first time a Catholic military protector of the church. And so the dance of power between state and church, the sacred and the secular, was set in motion. Charlemagne was used by the Pope to maintain and further the power of the church, while the Pope feigned subservience to him. Like a parasite riding its host, the Roman Catholic Church rides its military forces. It rides on the military or political powers of the day and uses them to bring peoples into subservience under the Roman Catholic religion. And this has been going on for a long time. This is what we see in the world today. If you look carefully, you'll see it. With great cunning, the popes would play king against king and kingdom against kingdom in order to gain the ascendancy politically and spiritually and obtain power over them as supreme monarch of the universe. And this is what the Jesuits have said in their fourth oath, to gain the ascendancy over kings and princes. They'll do anything to gain the ascendancy. This is so important to understand. And this is how they have gained the ascendancy over the whole world, finally, in the 20th century, using the United Nations as a front or a facade behind which the Roman Catholic Church rules the world. The Frankish Carolingian dynasty would continue to protect the Roman cult for hundreds of years until around 1119 AD, when, having ceased to be useful in achieving temporal world power for the Pope, the strategy to increase the Church's power changed under Pope Benedict VIII, although this view is not officially stated. Enter suddenly, in the same year, the Knights Templar, known as the Poor Foot Soldiers of Christ, and the Temple of Solomon. The official reason for their formation was to protect poor pilgrims journeying to Jerusalem and to battle the Muslims in the Holy Land. That was the open reason for their formation, but that was not the real reason. It is clear from history that the Templars quickly became the first papal military and intelligentsia apparatus and the first world bankers to issue paper money in the form of promissory notes. Very important to note this. Think about that for a minute. Who do you think controls the world banking system and all its worthless paper money? Yes, the Vatican does, through its papal knights acting as CEOs of all the major world banks. This fact alone ought to set off alarm bells and change your perception of who is really in control. The original 9 knights who formed the Templar Corps had already been involved in a crusade against the Muslims prior to their formation. It doesn't take much probing to see that the Templars were the first papal army, doing the bidding of the Pope, conquering territory and building wealth by lending money at interest or usury. It's still happening today. Nothing has changed. Only the names of the organizations behind which the Pope works have been changed. In fact, the modern system of usury and credit are Roman Catholic inventions by which to ensnare the world in a web of debt. And that's where we are today. Through the central banking system, the whole world is in debt. And that debt is increasing on a day-to-day basis. And this is how one of the mechanisms of force, like standover tactics, that the the Vatican uses against all the nations of the world. When the Templars became too rich and powerful for the comfort of European kings, they pressured the Pope and they were simply outlawed in 1312 AD, and many of them, including the leader Jacques de Molay, were imprisoned, tortured, and executed publicly as a warning to all. A warning to all not to rise up or try to take power from the Roman Catholic Church. Nevertheless, the Knights Templar were a secret occult society, the first Roman Catholic inquisitors waging war against all non-Catholic individuals and groups not subservient to the Pope. Now please note here, Rome doesn't tolerate any kind of disobedience, competition, or threat to her total power and control over all world systems. The Roman Catholic cult has on many occasions killed its own servants as they are seen as expendable for the greater cause. And again, the Jesuits have stated this in their oath, that they will kill anyone, even their own, to achieve their goals. The Templars are the first example of Rome's treachery against its own. From this point on, in the 13th century, the Roman cult begins to develop further the concept of subservient military orders that serve the Pope and the expansion of the temporal and spiritual power of the pagan Roman temple cult worldwide. This is the key to Rome's conquest of the world. This is the priestly fifth column, clandestinely subverting nations from within while commandeering their armies and technology to be used as a sword against other nations. If you are a Catholic, be warned right here. Rome will kill you if you cease to be useful to them or if you cease to comply with their system. You are not safe in any way from elimination. You will not get preferential treatment. They don't care about you or anyone else. If they didn't hesitate to assassinate John F. Kennedy, the first Roman Catholic president of the USA, then why would they spare you or me or anyone? They won't. Okay, how does the Inquisition work? The Roman temple cult creates fifth column infiltrators. In 529 AD, the Benedictine order was established in Subiaco, Italy by Benedict of Nursia, this being the earliest monastic order pre-Templars. Through the Benedictines, the Roman cult was able to corner the market on education and learning in Europe based on Aristotle's natural law instead of God's law based on the scriptures, and at a very early medieval stage. They educated the children of kings, queens, and princes, ensuring generational propagation of satanic Babylonian teachings and practices in the circles of power. They are still doing the same today, but under the system of control invented by the Jesuits, or put in place by the Jesuits centuries ago. In 1209 AD, the Franciscans are founded by Francis of Assisi and approved by Pope Innocent III, that wicked pope, followed by the Dominicans in 1216 AD at Toulouse in France by Dominic of Osma, also approved by Pope Innocent III. Can you see what they're doing here? They're building priestly ranks that go out, infiltrate, and educate the nations. What a remarkable coincidence. As the Templars are getting too big for their boots, the Roman cult is already planning 100 years ahead how to take them out and replace them with more subservient lackeys. Brainwashed lackeys. That's what Rome wants. The ESMOM, or Sovereign Military Order of Malta, is also created in 1099 AD, 13 years before the destruction of the Templars. And this will provide the Pope with a faithful order of men who will go on to eventually control world banking, militaries, and intelligence for the Pope. Still doing it today. Finally, in 1540 AD, with the Roman cult under duress from the Protestant Reformation, the Pope gives permission for the institution of the Society of Jesus, or Jesuits, as we know them today, formed by Inigo or Ignatius of Loyola, and the Luciferian Brotherhood really begins to make its play for power. The Jesuits are a military order tasked with the mission to destroy all enemies of the Roman temple cult. In less than 300 years, they will have total control of the Vatican. In 1814, the papal suppression of the order by Pope Clement XIV in 1773 was repealed, and they emerged with Europe under their control. The Jesuits will wage a covert and cruel war against the other Catholic religious orders, forcing them into submission to the Jesuit Superior General or the Black Pope. By 1814 AD, all the secret Masonic societies have also been brought under Jesuit control through their front group, the Illuminati, or the Bavarian Illuminati at that time, formed in 1776 AD by Adam Weishaupt and Lorenzo Ricci, the Jesuit Black Pope of the day. The Jesuit fomented and controlled bloody French Revolution is the warning shot to all by the Jesuits of what will happen to anyone who dares oppose their will. The Luciferian Jesuits control all world systems and are masters of Inquisition, revolution, and war. They are without mercy and spare no one. World conquest is their goal, and they will kill anyone who gets in their way. And that's what they've been doing for the last 500 years, killing anyone who has gotten in their way to total control. Here's a note. As of 2011, there were 14 mendicant orders, 11 monastic orders, 7 cleric regular orders, 7 canon regular orders, and 277 congregations or Roman Catholic religious institutes listed, with well over 1 million people involved. This means there is an order, a Roman Catholic order of some kind, in a neighborhood not far from you, no matter where you are in the world. Pagan Roman Catholic temple culture has insinuated itself into societies everywhere. So this is how they do it. They form all these societies, priestly orders, and they go out and infiltrate neighborhoods everywhere in the world. All of these orders are controlled and working for the Jesuits, whether they know it or not. The P.D. Stewart, in his book Code Word Babylon, Danger in the Vatican, written in 2008, he writes about the Jesuit methodology, and I quote, "And we have it on good authority that the Jesuits have been active in forming other holy orders or sodalities, such as the Knights of Peter Claver and the Knights of Columbus, over which they retain immense control. For it is an old trick on the part of the Sons of Loyola that whenever their order is under threat or suspicion, they swell their numbers by means of the sodalities of new orders." Unquote. It is clear from documentation that the Luciferian Roman cult has been and is using its own secretly run orders since the 12th century to infiltrate and destroy all sovereign national societies under the guise of religion. Most people fail to understand that the Roman Catholic cult is a political organization, first and foremost, and seeks absolute political control everywhere. Religion is the smokescreen it hides behind. These religious orders are agents of Rome working to deceive and undermine nations from within, employing the Trojan horse tactic. First, they weaken a people or society internally in every way possible through aberrant education, healthcare, politics, etc., and then they attack at a strategic point and bring it down from within through covert inquisition as well as from without, overt inquisition. Okay, Inquisition, according to the dictionary, means a period of prolonged and intensive questioning. Historically, Inquisition was an ecclesiastical tribunal first established by Pope Gregory IX around 1232 AD for the suppression of heresy. Heretic, according to the dictionary, means a person believing in or practicing religious heresy. Now, since the Roman Catholic Church has set themselves up as being the Church of God, they consider that they have the right and authority to judge everyone who does not agree with them as being a heretic, no matter what religion you belong to. The question is, what right does any person or organization have to dictate to or enforce on other people what heresy actually is, especially when it is judged according to their own false doctrines or protocols? Only two religions in the world aggressively do this, and I said this before, Roman Catholicism and Islam. Have you ever wondered why that is? The answer is simply both religious systems are ideologically fascist, political, and satanic, demanding total compliance under compulsion and erasing all freedom of choice for humanity. In fact, Islam was created by Rome in order to harness and control the Arabic sons of Ishmael as a sword to kill Jews and Christians by fomenting agitation and hatred toward them. Islam marauded and pillaged the Middle East, Europe, Africa, and Asia for 13 years. They're still at it today under direction from the Jesuits of Rome. The Islamic Empire was inquisitional. It was an inquisition against all Jews and Christians. For the Vatican, inquisition simply means the right to apply surveillance, threat, violence, torture, and death to anyone who refuses to submit to Rome and its agents. Sounds like a mob of gangsters, right? Indeed, the Roman temple cult is a satanic criminal cabal. Never forget that. Inquisition is nothing less than a methodology to wage a terror campaign against one's opponents for profit and power, and has been used historically by Rome over and over, just as it is doing today through the USA and its European allies, who are pawns of Rome, in the mindless, open-ended war on terror, which is just another inquisition. It is the perfect vehicle by which psychopaths may kill indiscriminately while claiming to chase a ghostly enemy that exists only as a fiction in the mind. People, time is running out as we speed to the end of this age. World events are snowballing and everything is becoming less and less certain. No one knows how much time is left, but the time is short according to the Bible timetable. No one can stop the Jesuit Vatican Roman Empire from instituting their communist one-world dictatorship. But you can still make a personal decision to change your life and prepare for the terrible storm that is coming. Looking for another way? There isn't. There isn't. There's no way out. We're all in this together. And we either serve God or we serve Satan. God is only provided one way, His Son Jesus Christ, who died for your sins. His perfect blood can cleanse your sins and set you free from sin and death. Jesus said in John 14, in chapter 6, John chapter 14, verse 6, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes unto the Father but by me. Please consider carefully what I'm saying. There is the warning and the invitation from God. Will you hear and obey Him? Thank you for listening, and I pray that God will continue to open your eyes as you search for the truth on all things. Please share this information with others as you're able, so that others might also be awakened to the reality of this world system. I hope to see you in video 45B, the second part of this series.